Well, are you guys ready to kick this off?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is episode number 37 of the Flatirons Syndicate Motorsports Podcast, brought to you, as always, by Flatirons Tuning. And today we've got with us Ryan from DSX Motorsports, Tasso from OTC Racing, and Scotty from somewhere out in the wild. Maybe in the back of the shop, who knows?
Hey.
Yes. So for this episode, we're recording this right about the middle of July, and last weekend was a big weekend for pretty much everybody else on the podcast other than myself. And that's what we wanted to talk about. So I don't know what do you guys want to talk about the hill climb first or about the NASA track day?
Well, we know Tasso is dying to talk about it, so go ahead, Tasso.
All right, let's do it.
That's
so
not
Tasso,
true.
so what event was this? This is the Continental Divide Hill Climb, but where is it held? Tell us a little bit about the event.
Yep. So it was because of a cancellation, the second event of the year for the Colorado Hill Climb Association's championship series. Hold on, you guys got someone walking into your shop here. And I'm up front, so apparently I got to deal with this.
Well, just call one of the guys.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'll be right back. Hold on.
All right.
Oh my!
Uh-oh.
Trouble.
Is it one of the guys, or is he just hasn't adapted to the ignore everything yet?
He hasn't adapted to the ignore everything yet. Yeah. Do not put Tasso customer facing.
Tasso's over there making money for the Flatirons Syndicate Podcast.
If I get a paycheck, that'd be great.
Sure.
I guess for people that don't know, I am not an employee of Flatirons Tuning, so I have no business being at their counter. Anyway, so event number 2, the championship. The first event I made it to this year because of I had some stuff I had to take care of, family stuff on the actual first event. So the Continental Divide Hill Climb is in Monarch, Colorado, near Monarch Pass, west. Okay. It's up. The event itself starts at like 9,000 or 10,000 feet and raises up to tree line. So it's pretty high. I think it's the highest altitude. It's a Forest Service road that's used by a mining company, and so it's a really weird surface. It's really tight. It's almost a 2-track more than a road. Really, like the surface is like a crushed quartz or something like that. So it's like moon dust at times. They water it and do the best they can, but it's kind of a shorter, steeper, a handful of straightaways, kind of separated by some switchbacks. But it's an event that we've always had mechanical trouble at in the past. We've burnt up coil packs, we've had fueling issues, and so we've had to work through a lot of our fuel slosh stuff because it's so steep and you're using so much fuel and all that. And we're always trying to run low fuel load as possible to keep the car light. Also, we blew our last motor up there, so it was our first event in almost exactly 2 years because it's the event that we blew up at 2 years ago, and then COVID happened and stuff. So,
right.
So we went back and had to brush some cobwebs off. I haven't raced anything, be it 2 or 4 wheeled. Actually, no, Lemons racing in the meantime, but that's a different mindset, So, had to get back in the groove of things. Really had to shave some cobwebs off and sort my shit out because I was driving like a fool at first, and then ended up having a successful weekend. So it was a good time.
Well,
yeah, some of the pictures and video I saw coming out of that dude were so dope. Like there's that one like right-hander switchback, and that guy was literally just getting pelted with rocks. He like held in as long as he could, and he's like, "Fuck!"
Yeah, so that's Lori Brady that took that video. Shout out to Lori. She's a longtime hill climber herself. She drives a open wheel car. Her husband drives, and kid now drives and everything like that. So she just happened to be spectating that run in the right place at the right time. And in that corner, I'm coming in on boost in second gear all the way around a switchback. So even though I'm down to, I don't know what, in the corner, the wheel speed is still near 60. So I'm chucking rocks out of that corner. It was a good time. So But yeah, so it's a 2-mile course, and we did it in 2 minutes and 6 seconds. So that's an average speed of almost 60 miles an hour. And considering there's one, two, three, four, five switchbacks and then a couple straightaways. We hit a top speed of probably 110-ish, somewhere in there. So a lot of slow speeds and then high speeds and digging out of corners and stuff, and a really tight road. There's points where you couldn't get two cars past each other, no matter how hard you tried or drove one into the hillside. So.
Well, and the surface looked from your in-car, it looked pretty loose.
It's super loose. Last year they put a new base in on the road, a new base in on the road. So it's better than it has been in the past, but it's still not even as good as like your normal Forest Service road, much less a dirt road in terms of the, how hard the road is. It's faster, which is why, we saw records come down in the last 2 years. But it's still, it's a pretty loose road. I'm glad it is. It makes it fun to drive. It's not always fastest to drive loose, but when the road is loose, then you can go ahead and drive like a dummy.
Throw lots of rocks out.
Yeah.
Now you got to really test your grit against the Evos this weekend, right? You had Dave Kern, Giannis Dancis. I don't even know all the Evos, right?
Yeah. So there were 3 other Evos in our class: Dave and Allison Kern, Giannis Dancis, and his co-driver Brian Cather, and then Peter's Lamini in a sweet old. I don't know if it's an old Group A car or what. It's badass. It's an old Evo something, that wasn't normally available here kind of thing. But it's like anti-lag capable and it's badass. And he had Will McDonald co-driving for him. And Will's also really fast driving. These are all fast guys in their own right that drive. And the Kerns especially are never a force to be underestimated. So, they chased problems all weekend. It was kind of cool being the only Subaru in what is normally a Subaru saturated world, the rally world, so we're the only ones flying that flag. So Subaru, if you're listening, what's up? Help me out. But the Mitsubishis were the Mitsubishis were coming hard and heavy, and there's even a Porsche there too, in a different class.
This was Jeff Swart.
Jeff Swart and his Emotion Engineering prepped GT3 Cup car or whatever, right? Badass car, sequential, full flat floor, aero. I guess he did some suspension work to get it to work on gravel, and he couldn't run anything below an 18-inch tire or 18-inch wheel.
Oh.
He had to be on a snow tire the whole time, and somehow he didn't get. He was amazed even he didn't get it flat. So. A fun weekend, a lot of, not only literal horsepower, but kind of figurative horsepower in the rally classes. So it was a nice, tight racing. It was fun. And, the Porsche set a record in his class. But, it's a major disadvantage not to have all 4 tires pulling at that place.
Oh, yeah.
So the all-wheel drive classes. We ended up taking, Kern and I took first and second overall in the weekend. Cool. It doesn't always happen that, the rally cars take overall because it's just, and some of the open wheel cars make so much power, and those guys are drivers in their own right too, So it doesn't always happen. 1 or 2 fast guys didn't make it. 1 or 2 things came together for us. And, we walked away with an overall win, a class win, the fastest qualifier overall, and the official record for our class.
That's awesome.
Quantify this, to give credit where it's due. It's the official record. There is a faster time in a rally car in non-official class competition by 1 second. So I still have that rabbit in front of me that I'm chasing. The car was capable of an undisputed record, but it wasn't there in my driving for the weekend to make that last second up. So, fun weekend though. Had a good time.
How close was the competition with like you and Kern, and like how much did you end up winning by?
Really close. We are at we're in a pattern now where we kind of go back and forth and end up within a second of each other. So
Wow.
it's good. I mean, I'm hoping for Giannis to catch right up in there too, and Peter and everybody. And if we're all just nailing it back and forth and just have an arms race of rally cars would be my goal. I want to see all of us just pushing hard, and if we can all put together, if any one of us can put together a perfect weekend, that's the winner, right? We're always chasing stuff, and it's all about who can put together the best weekend. But it's a good thing. It's positive. I'm friends with all these guys too, and so it's a really fun environment to be pushing for stuff. So
Nice.
Well, I gotta let Nigel in this place now. So
Oh man, Nigel.
The
Yeah, it was
riffraff.
kind of funny talking about Giannis. Giannis and I message each other quite a bit. He's like, "Man, what does Tasso have done to that car? Like, I feel like I'm gonna have to put so much horsepower in this thing just to keep up." And I was like, "Hell yeah, it's awesome to see that. Awesome to see that going. I mean, Brad Ames too, but specifically Giannis. Yeah, he's like, dude, it's just gonna be. He's just talking about how fast you were and how fast your car is.
Yeah, well, it's flattering.
Since this is your first race since you put the car back together, I mean, maybe talk about some of the details that you changed from the last iteration to this iteration that maybe is what has kind of put you up over the top or put you up a higher power.
Yeah. We do make a little bit more power than the last iteration of the car. It's pretty much the same spec of everything. But we have, last time the car had a boost leak and it doesn't anymore. So that could be it as much as anything. But yeah, a little bit I had the chance with this motor. I've talked about this in the past because it's been 2 years. Pretty much the whole time we've been podcasting, I've been broken down until this race. So yeah, I made like 40 more horsepower pretty much everywhere on the curve this time around, just by like not having a boost leak, a slightly better cam, even though they're cheap cams. I ported my own heads. We got the cam timing dialed in a little bit better with those pulleys. If you've been listening or watching the YouTube and stuff, you remember the pulleys that the lick pulleys that we put on the car. The eccentric ones to get the cam timing. We're not even on adjustable cam pulleys at this point, but just that much, maybe it makes a little bit of a difference. And this rotating assembly is dynamically balanced now because we had time. We didn't just slap it together with whatever parts we had to try and get it ready for a race. So makes for the car is lighter. Every time I work on the car, hopefully it ends up a little bit lighter. So there's small increments now, but any amount of lightness helps a little bit. The power feels great. The tune felt great. I was fighting a little bit of an electrical issue all weekend, but that's not on anybody's plate but my own. I just have my personally modified wiring harness for the motor is probably reaching the end of its useful life.
Oh boy.
So another thing to address, right? But it's the car felt good all week. Once I figured I had a tough Saturday. Like I was sitting there like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, I don't even deserve to be driving here anymore. This feels like shit. Like I'm doing bad. Like we had a run we caught up to a car in front of us that had spun. So that scrubbed that run on Saturday. And so I had to just refocus on some fundamentals and just remember, not to overdrive the car, to try and shift smooth. I was fighting missed shifts all weekend even just because I think my clutch foot was just lazy. I was like, nah, I don't need to push that all the way in. It's fine, right? But then run into the synchro in the next gear, and the synchro was like, I'm doing my best, man, but I don't. Right? But once I kind of settled myself down and talked with my wife and co-driver Abby, and she was like, just quit fucking up, and you got this. Right? Just right? Just do what you know how to do, and kind of recentered, focused on simple things. Hey, this run, I'm just going to shift smooth and not brake like a dumbass, right? And the times just started falling at that point and able to squeak one out. It still wasn't a perfect run. Still not an undisputed record, just a technically official record. So it's all right. We got stuff to work on still, and but there's always something. We got grid.
It's always something.
So there's always something. So. But Grid Lab coming up, they solidified that there will be a rally sprint, like single elimination kind of bracket tournament thing. So we're signed up for that, and hopefully, I don't know, go out there and smash some competition and get ready, because we're only like 3.5 weeks or 3 weeks away from Land's End out in Grand Junction. So the competition train keeps on rolling.
Yeah, these next handful of weeks, it's crazy how much is going on, because like you mentioned, there's Grid Life, Land's End, just a whole bunch of stuff coming.
Yeah, July has been just like a crazy month, just period.
Yeah. Well, and it's worth mentioning too, like so the run that you put up on YouTube, Tasso, that is the winning run.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes,
and that's
run 2 on. You get 2 runs on Sunday is how the hill climbs work, and your fastest time of the 2. So our run 1 on Sunday was actually our fastest run ever, our personal record on the course, and beat our qualifying time from Saturday as well by about a second. And then like, man, can't sleep on Kern, right? That guy always comes up with something out of his ass that's just fast as hell. So
yeah.
So we went back up, knocked another second off, which is a good thing, because Kern in his second run beat our first run time. So our runs just stacked up there in the 206, 207 range and ended up nice and tight. But the run on video on YouTube, the onboard, is our run number 2 from Sunday, our fastest run, and technically the current record run for a rally all-wheel drive class on that course. And I was really happy with how the video turned out too. It was my first time using like that hyper smooth or whatever from GoPro. So the camera's mounted, on an arm sticking out from the roll cage X, sticking forward in between our seats. And so it's, it's like a foot to the right of what my eyes see, but otherwise it's pretty much what I see. And it follows the direction of travel. So like when the car is sliding, the camera keeps looking forward, so the car moves around in the shot kind of thing. So I thought the video turned out really cool. I'm happy with that purchase.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and it's wild that it took until the second day for it to really fall into place for you. But I mean, having close competition like that, and somebody like Kern that's just like right on your heels the whole time, I mean, that's a hell of a motivator.
Yeah. No disillusions here that Kern is a on my heels kind of guy. I mean, we're both like face to face in the speed war right now. So there's mad respect to that dude. So
well, and you guys have had that battle for quite a few years, right?
Yeah, Rangeley 2 years ago, we ended up less than half a second off of each other. And then there was actually a guy in between us. So in a completely different, in a UTV of all things, a nice turboed long travel UTV. But still, it's those hill climbs, don't sleep on them. That competition is tight. It's fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, and I like just doing whatever we can to like get people more or give people more awareness of them, because it is just such a good series and a lot of good racing that's going on out there.
It's fun. It's cheap to do. It's cheap to watch. You can be right there. I mean, it's like the person that took that video. I mean, so much of rally and stuff, the spectator points are all locked down because of spectator safety, right? Which is fair. I respect that. It's needed. The hill climbs are still a little bit cowboyed up, so you can still get out there and get peppered if you want to. And please don't try and touch the cars. I'm not always as in control as it looks. Like the finishing flag guy at Monarch is right there, and he's always like trying to brush the car with the finishing flag. I'm like, dude, we're going 90 miles an hour at that point. And we're sliding. And the corner right after the finish is too tight for the finish. So you almost have to start braking before you finish for the corner after it. So it's, the hill climbs are great. Come out, watch. It's cheap. It's like $15 for a spectator ticket, and kids under 12 are free. And you can roam around the pits and say hi to people. And, if you come see me, hopefully I have some stickers for you. I'll give you some stickers or something like that. Show you around the car, take pictures. It's a good experience for racers and for fans. So,
well, and how many competitors were there this weekend?
We're a little lower attendance this weekend, so probably 40 to 50, maybe.
Okay.
So normally it's kind of closer to, I don't know, 60 to 70. Those are rough numbers. I don't know for sure. But it's those good stuff to look at, and good stuff in the pits and stuff like that too. Oh, I gotta let somebody else in your shop here real quick.
Okay.
So, hang on.
The official doorman of Flatirons Tuning is Tasso. Well, it was Tasso's doing that. Let's maybe move on to the other race that went on this past weekend, which was out at Pueblo Motorsports Park. So Ryan, you and Scotty were both there for that one. So that was a NASA event, and maybe just kind of, tell everybody about what was going on.
So I think the biggest thing I want to lead with is that I'm the time trials director, so I don't get to drive like all the time my most ideal situation or in ideal conditions, but I will lead with that I did get to drive Jeanette's supercharged BRZ again and competing with her in the 8-6 Cup. She was driving in the TT sessions and I was driving in the DE3 sessions. And she only drove on Saturday, and we finished 65 thousandths of a second different from each other. She beat me by 0.065 seconds.
Wow.
So it was definitely kind of a heartbreaker to lose by such a small margin. It was kind of funny because when she saw my time, I'd only seen my time kind of like my predicted on my phone or whatever. And so I was like, Jeanette got me by like a couple tenths or whatever, and I pull in and I'm like, yeah. She's like, I can't believe you. I'm like, what? She's like, I think you beat me. I'm like, what? And so we had to look up at the time and we're literally counting the digits. I'm like, holy shit, like she beat me by 65 thousandths of a second. And neither of us went past her after that day. But it was super cool to just have, we both drive so differently. It was so cool to have the competition be so close between the two of us. So I don't know. That was like, I think the coolest thing for us from a competition standpoint, other than me getting to drive this guy's car, whichever direction he is.
He's there for me.
Yep.
Yeah. But
so weird driving her car. Like, were there like setup things that kind of fit her driving style more, and you had to kind of adapt to, or
like when I drive like anybody else's car, you're sitting in their seating position, like first and foremost, and so like she likes her seat like really upright. So even with like my body shape and stuff, like I've gotten so used to how reclined the super tight car is that almost feels more natural to me. And I said in Jeanette's car, I feel like I'm like this, like, oh my God. And so there's a little bit of that kind of getting used to, like, just to fit in her car and stuff. I would say as far as setup goes, more than anything, I would say it'd be like a compromise between the two of us. She can't really explain exactly what she wants 100%. And I've been like working with the car, trying to massage it, trying to get it into a spot where she's like, okay, I like that, versus like, I don't know if it's quite there yet. So, we did a whole test day at PPIR, playing with alignment settings. And when I kind of had the car in a high caster setting, I liked it more than the way it's set up now. But the way it's set up now, which is like a lot more camber, the car, I think, suits her better, and it's still easy enough for me to drive. So it's definitely, I think if there was any difference that we could have seen is if we would have both driven in the same temperature conditions. So I missed my first DE session because of working and stuff with the TT group. So she got, I would say, a slightly better driving conditions than I did. Not a huge difference because Pueblo was super nice this weekend. But it might have just been that hair of a difference. 65 thousandths is pretty awesome. And even before, when we did last time we went to Pueblo doing the same thing, I think she beat me by like a tenth. So if anything, I'm closing that gap a little bit.
Someday you'll catch up to her.
Yeah, that's right. It's so different versus the Subaru. The all-wheel drive cars. Like, almost have to remind yourself that it's not the same car. And so, like, the lines and stuff that me and Scotty talk about, and the lines and stuff that me and Scotty really work on and drive, like, you do have to drive her car different than that. Like, you can go in and drive those lines, but I went out on Sunday kind of opening my lines up a little bit and end up going like by half a second faster or something like that the next day. So there is a lot more room interpretation between the two types of cars in those lines, for sure.
Sure.
I'm curious, like back to back now with Scotty's car, not to jump too far ahead here, but just while we're kind of on the topic, right? Like, how did it feel compared to Scotty's car? And I know you put down a pretty hot time in Scott's car too. So
I'd say the
did he drop?
my internet's unstable. Anyway, we're probably good. So the crazy thing, so I drove Scotty's car at a pretty much the same kind of part of the day that I drove my yellow car. And the two cars feel so different. But the cool thing is like, so I'm looking at my data. And so like the session start for me driving Scotty's car was 12:45 in the afternoon. The session start for me driving my yellow car on a previous outing, previous weekend, it was at 1:15. So I think as far as the time of the day goes, you couldn't get really much better than that. And I think me driving Scotty's car was like 6 thousandths or 3 thousandths, like 3,000 of a second difference between the two cars. But the feel is so different. I mean, I was talking with him. I was like, his car feels narrower than my car and feels taller. His car feels less compliant in the turns, which is kind of strange. Because I expected it to be softer in the turns, but that could be, we were talking about, it could be related to sway bars. And the car felt different in the straight line too. And we had the power thing where the car was cutting out. I'm sure Scotty will talk about that a little bit too. So even that played into like how the center diff, I'd imagine how the center diff worked. Because when I would get on the power in my yellow car, the car would go straight into like an oversteer situation. Not like a lot, but where like the back end is chasing the front. And Scotty's car, like trying to drive my same line, Scotty's car was kind of like an understeer first, and then it would kind of track around. But when you have those G sensors and stuff kind of assessing everything, when the car's like, you're getting on the gas, the car's like sput, and then goes. I think that was a big part of probably how that car felt a little bit different in that scenario. And I mean, and that would put me off my apex by like a couple feet sometimes. So it definitely, for me, I mean, it's fun. I really want Scotty to drive the car, even if that means resetting the whole seat and everything, because the car feels like they feel similar, but a lot different at the same time. So, and they're set up a lot different, but also similar at the same time, so it's super cool to kind of have like two pseudo TT4 cars that are both Subarus, like go so closely the same speed, but also at the same time feel so different. So that was pretty awesome.
When two cars is even a really different kind of build philosophy, right? A lot of it, right? I mean, it's the Taikyu car is simple, reliable, redundant, comfortable, and Scotty's a big aero track weapon, but lower power too, right?
No, I mean we're thinking they're probably similar power. I think Dussex may be a little bit lighter than my car, but his car is set up for just tons of mechanical grip. Where it was one of the things we were talking about. I have a ton of aero grip on high speed corners, but he was saying nowhere near the mechanical grip that his car has on a lot of the tighter, slower speed corners. So, I mean, it's definitely an interesting thing between the two cars, and I would love to drive the Super Thai car. For one, I can't see over the dash at all.
You don't need to see. It's overrated.
I mean, I have a hard time seeing the apex in my car, and I sit pretty high up. I actually have a half inch spacer in my car just so I can see apexes a little bit better. But yeah, I've also never driven a right-hand drive car. So trying to go drive that car in anger is going to take some learning for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to make some changes to the car before Utah. Try and get some more of that low speed mechanical grip going. And the next time we get out, maybe we could drive each other's cars.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and I've been thinking about that low speed mechanical grip. So we know that the super tight car has some wizardry done to the suspension geometry, and we still don't know exactly what that is. But every time we come up with a conversation like this, I become more and more curious. Like we've got to figure out, or at least try and quantify what is done to that car. And we all keep coming back to we got to know how heavy it is. We got to know what it weighs, and we've got to know what the power that it's putting down is, because those are, it's like it's a quick car. You know that it's a quick car, but there's these just really big X factors there for what, like, are you really making close to the same power that Scotty? Is it actually less? Is it more? And how much is the weight difference? Because it is a lighter chassis, the GD chassis versus the GR. So just someday, hopefully soon, we're gonna have to bring the car down and just go over it, put it on the dyno, put it on the scales, get an alignment on it, and take some measurements on the suspension, just try and actually get a more clear picture of what is going on with that car, just to try and like build a better understanding of what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's need like a 3D measurement rig or something like that. Like to either 3D scan it or one of those arms with a little point on it and just touch them. Don't just find out.
Yeah, something. So Scotty, let's maybe clarify for people what this fueling issue is, or the power issue that you guys are talking about with your car.
Yeah, I have no idea what the hell it is. I just threw a whole bunch of money at the fueling system. Just a new fuel pressure regulator. I mean, we ended up changing out a bunch of relays. I have brand new pumps in. We tried bypassing certain things. We tried all kinds of stuff to fix the problem. For the most part, it's just every time you get on gas, whether it's through a corner or in a straight in between shifts, it just, I guess, kind of sputters. Damn near, it's not backfiring, but it's fuel cut. And so top speed on straights is down probably 5 to 6 miles an hour from where it could be. But I mean, I still went out and just drove it, and that was one of the things was, me and Ryan talked on Saturday. Like, I wanted him to drive the car, but we were both kind of afraid that it was going to blow up. And then Sunday, I was just like, you know what? Fuck it, Ryan. If it's going to blow up, it's going to blow up. Just go drive it as hard as you can. Don't hold back anything. So it's crazy. The car feels amazing everywhere except for that power cut.
Right.
I still set a new personal best out there. By almost a second.
So even with this power issue, you shaved almost a second off your personal best time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because that dude's a beast in a car. Shit.
Well, it's
scientist of speed over there.
I mean, it's crazy because me and Ryan were also talking about it. Like, there's probably a second, maybe more, in just the power cut. Just being able to get on the gas and have the proper power when and where you want it. There might be a second plus just in that.
Because it's every time you roll on the throttle, right? It's not random. It's pretty much every time.
Every time. When Ryan was driving my car, I was basically just standing up on the bleachers. I could see turn 9 and turn 10. Turn 10 comes onto the front straight, and every time he would come around the corner and get on the gas, you could just hear it, bop, 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 and then it would just go. Come through 10, it would sputter, and then there's like a 4th to 5th gear shift halfway down the straight, and every time you shift, bop, 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 and it would go. But it's we're making progress. It's not as violent of a fuel cut as it used to be. I mean, before, like, the helmet, it would cut so bad that your helmet would go, and now it's not quite as bad. But yeah, so we'll be sticking it on the dyno here in, I guess, next week. Harvey and Jerry are going to try and figure out what the hell's going on with that, and hopefully get everything fixed for Utah.
And they've been looking at logs, and it seems to be related to fuel pressure. Just the fuel pressure is not building as quickly as it should be. But why? It's a mystery.
It's almost like, and I was kind of watching it a little bit going down the straight stretch, and like going that 4th and 5th is like a good time because you're just going straight. And I would shift into 4th, or from 4th to 5th, and you see like the boost would come up and the fuel pressure would come down, and the fuel pressure would come back up again. So it wasn't like, I mean, that's what, and the whole time it's down, it's like, bah, 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 bah. I mean, and then it would come up and it was fine. I mean, the turbo was spooling super fast, but I just don't understand why that fuel pressure would drop so hard, under boost unless it didn't have like a good boost reference, which is we pretty much tied it into all these different spots,
Yeah, I mean, we definitely.
I was gonna say, for the person listening, it's like, well, that's why you gotta have boost reference or whatever. Fuel pump's not keeping up. I mean, I talked to Scotty about this for a while, and he's tried everything. Like, it's a dialed ass system, and there's just a mystery hole. It's like Fast and Furious. Like, you got a nasty hole in your fuel map.
You got a nasty hole in your tune.
You got a nasty hole in your fuel map, bro.
Yeah.
So, but it's not. Your tune is dialed. Harvey knows what he's doing. It's a mind blower of a mystery right now. I didn't.
Yeah.
I was gonna have to not think about it to sleep that night after we talked about it. I still. I don't know, man.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, every possible thing that you think it could be has been replaced at this point. Besides
sometimes twice.
Yeah, sometimes twice. So, and besides like ripping out the entire wiring on it and just rewiring everything, but we're pretty sure it's not even the wiring.
Because you already redid the wiring to the lifter pump in the fuel tank entirely,
right.
And then after redoing it, then put in a new heavier duty relay on top of that, and then jump the relay. You basically just run the lifter pump at full duty all the time, and it's still basically not doing what it needs to do for some reason.
Basically, every configuration out there that we can find to do the fueling system, we've tried, and it's. Yeah. So it is. It's kind of frustrating just knowing that. I mean, a new personal best, yes, but I was 9,000ths of a second off of getting into the 37s, and it's so. I mean, just knowing that it's there, and hell, I probably could have got there even with the fuel cut, but went back out on that next session and trying to push and just made mistake after mistake after mistake. The red mist was not working.
Yeah.
On that session, so I came back and was pretty much over it. Told Ryan to go drive it, see if he could blow it up.
It's kind of funny too, talking about being in the 37s. Like, what was your predicted time? What was your best predicted time this weekend?
Like a 37.4.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's definitely 37s in that car for sure.
Especially
it's so hard to be consistent with a power issue, especially a tip-in power issue, because you guys have all mentioned it now, and I mean, I had similar issues this weekend too. Like, when you expect the power to be there, it's so much a part of the handling of any car, but especially four-wheel drive car with active center diff. You need that even for the car to locate in a corner where you expect it to locate, or you're blowing apexes, or you're nailing apexes and curbing and stuff, and it's
a distraction.
Just a little delay in power. It is also just a complete mind.
Is it going to blow up this time I roll on the throttle, or this time, or this time? So
yeah. I mean, because I think the last event you drove was at High Plains, and it basically the fuel cut prevented you from. Last time you basically would not try and drive through it, so you basically just limped the car with the fuel cut, and even still did set a pretty darn respectable time. Not as good as your best, but it was still a quick time. This time you're trying to drive through it, but it's still a distraction. It's still something that's there on the forefront of your mind as you're trying to get around the track.
Yeah, and I didn't want to pop the motor. I mean, that definitely wasn't an intention to pop the motor, but also like just so frustrated and just wanted to drive. So I felt like if the motor pops and then it just pops, but I had to go out there and push. More than anything, just trying to keep in front of Dussex, because he goes out tomorrow, Ryan?
Yeah.
You're heading down there tonight, so you'll be out there all weekend with SCCA running the SCCA time trials, and he's taking the super tight car out there, and you got to beat a 138.009, Ryan.
Yeah. I know the car's got it in it, man. I know it
does too. And I'm excited for you to actually get it.
Yeah. I did mess with the boost controller on my car yesterday, and I just cannot get it to hold boost. Like, I cannot get it to hold more than 15 pounds of boost at redline. Like, at like low speed, I can get it to jump to like 21, 22 psi, but as it comes like up, as the RPMs climb, the boost just falls off, and the best I can get right now is about 15 at redline. So I'll have, a lot more torque coming out of some of those digs, like a good example is like kind of when you're coming up 5, and you got that right-hand sweeper, like through 6A and 6B, I think I'll have some good power out of the dig there. But I mean, the top end power is going to be pretty much exactly the same. Like, I don't know if it's because I think a big part of it is with that way that our boost controller, my boost controller set up, is it just basically sets one duty cycle. So, and if you get it tuned, they can dial the duty cycle back as the RPMs increase, but that's just not how this boost controller works. So it just needs that's what it would need, But I mean, we'll see. 15 pounds of boost at redline is still a lot better than 13, which is what I had before. So,
which turbo is this?
Speed on this straight?
I think my top speed on the
answer all of them.
I think the top speed on the straight was 117.
Okay.
So, and that was when I ran that 139 something or another. And this is at Pueblo, and it's the Blitz SPC ID. So that's the boost controller I'm running right now. It's basically the old boost controller from my blue car. So yesterday.
And the turbo. Which turbo is it?
Oh, okay. It's the VF. I think it's the 36, the 36. Titanium one.
Okay. Yep.
Is it twin scroll?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a twin scroll.
Yeah, and ball bearing.
So, and ball bearing.
Yeah.
So I learned that I had to do the learn part, and Scotty and I talked about this with the boost controller. So I basically set up like a 15, 17, and 19 PSI, and then got them all to learn. But the one thing I noticed is like 15 could hold 15 the whole time, 17 could hold 17, but would taper down to 13, and then 19 will hold 19 and then taper down to like 15. And I was like, all right, that doesn't seem right. So then I just went in and just was like, all right, 22 PSI, what do you got? And went in there and it was like 22 PSI, and then it would just taper all the way down to 15. So then I went into the manual and set the duty cycle to basically 95% at like a 4 or 5 gain. And the best I could do was 22, and it would come down to 15, like 15 PSI at redline. I was like, all right, so
I wonder if you're pushing past your wastegate, maybe. Like,
I mean, if anything, you'd see more boost, right?
Well, if you're creeping, right? But if you were pushing the wastegate open with exhaust pressure.
Oh,
maybe.
I see.
I mean, it's probably an old wastegate spring too, and they're not hold closed. They're sprung closed and air open. So
yeah.
You but it's more preload.
With the twin scroll, the stock twin scrolls have 2 doors. So the chances of having a boost creep issue is, I would say, almost zero with that. It sounds to me like the VF36, we ran the VF37 on the Pikespeed car for a period, which is basically like the non-titanium version of it. And that should be in the same ballpark. I think 36 is a little bit bigger, maybe.
No, they're the same size. The 36 is just ball bearing.
Okay.
And it's journal bearing.
And like the most that we can make out of that thing was about 300 horsepower, but it made like 340 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah.
But it's similar in size to a stock STI turbo, so it does kind of fall off in the upper RPM range just because the compressor wheel's not big enough.
Yeah.
I had similar power numbers too when I ran one. Both with a 2-liter and the 2.5 made the big torque, but still whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's got twice as much wastegate door area for the turbo to be pushing on as that drive pressure comes up, as your airflow comes up. So I wonder if maybe putting more preload on the wastegate arm would maybe help that hold a little bit better. You'd have to redo all your stuff. You can't put a new spring in it, right? And you can't put dome pressure on the wastegate. But I wonder, or just drive it because it's still a great.
Yeah, I'm just gonna drive it.
I think just drive.
I mean, the upside was that when it would hit like that 22 psi spike in like that 5,000 or 5,500 RPM range, the thing never got like leaner than like 10.6 to 1. So it was still hella rich. So at least there's that going for me. And the other part of it too is boost is relative, right, to restriction to flow. mean, it is a Spec C version 9 Spec C engine, so it's just possible that, I mean, the number is just a number, and then I just need to not fixate on it so much and just drive it the way that it is, and just and appreciate that it's not blowing up, that it's got plenty of fuel for what it has, and just go from there. But I'm definitely coming out like, that's the thing, is knowing that like Scotty ran that 138 flat pretty much. I know I got to come out swinging big time, trying to knock those numbers down. And I'm instructing this weekend, so I'm actually not going to get to drive the whole weekend. So I'm going to drive one session a day. So I've got to go and do it in 2 or 3 laps in one session each day. So it'll be pretty interesting.
Just give everybody the brush off for the first session of the day. Just like, it's cool.
That's what I'm going to do.
I'm going to go drive first thing. I'll take care of the rest of you guys throughout the day, but the first session's mine. Don't screw up.
And that's what I did at High Plains, and it worked out really good. And that's what I'm going to do this time too. And it's kind of nice because we'll have half the traffic, so maybe even a little less than half, because now we'll have 2 run groups this time. So yeah, I'm definitely going out there to try and lay down. I mean, I'm not going to do a 133 or 135, but I think your car's got 135s in it potentially. Get everything sorted out and have like that perfect condition day. Right. But I don't know that my car will have that much in it for sure. But maybe 137s though.
I bet it's got 137s in it for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and do you have another event at Pueblo this year? Because we're done with NASA there.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think SCCA does either. Because they can't really. They're going to lose money this weekend. They can't really afford to run that event. So they're going to lose money. But we'll go back to High Plains a couple times, and I'm actually going to bring the Super Thai car out for NASA. And since Dan and those guys were super awesome and gave me like 20 gallons of free 100 octane fuel, feel like I'm obligated to bring the Super Thai car out there and see if I can't run 157s out there, because that car's got easily that in. I mean, I did a 138 and it was 2 wheels in the air, so I think or 158. So I think we got some time there for sure.
Yeah. It's one of the themes of this episode, I think, is just how like much of a driving force competition is when you've got somebody that you're right there with, like you and Jeanette, you and Scotty, Tasso, you and Kern. I mean, it's just and you guys are all like focused and motivated on just like eking out any kind of tenths of a second that you can just to get a leg up on the competition.
Well, and we all have our own goals, but to have that like that friendly rivalry, just always having that carrot. Like Ryan hasn't even beat me, but I'm still trying to beat myself so that he can't beat me. And he's out there trying to beat my time every single time he's out there. And I mean, Tasso, it's the same with you and Kern for the last couple of years, just back and forth and always trying to one up.
Yeah, there's something about knowing that you cannot let your guard down. You cannot like phone it in for even one session, because you've got a guy right there. Yeah.
And even Giannis is he's putting together like a time stamped, like not overlay but compilation of his onboard video, Kern's onboard video, and my onboard video, so we can compare segments and try and find out, and so I love, and he's going to share it too, right? I mean, he could do that, and we could all do it and keep it to ourselves, right? I don't have that little prowess to put that together, but the fact that he's willing to share that, I think, says so much to me, and I think it's so awesome that it's that kind of competition, right? And that's the whole point of the syndicate. We're ultimately, we're not technically on the same team, but we're all on the same team.
Right? Yeah.
This isn't like Red Bull versus Mercedes or something like that, where contracts and retirements are at stake here, right? We're all trying to just get rad and go fast. And
it's largely bragging rights, really, when it comes down to.
Why I gotta go to High Plains now? If you guys are all in the 50s, shit, I gotta go knock some seconds off.
That's right. Wait till you get guys get down into the 12s with me. 2 minutes and 12 seconds.
I got that Miata I got put together. Then we'll
go. Yes, I'll fight with the Miata all day long.
Right.
I tell you what, Jeanette was super frustrated with her car at High Plains because she just did not feel like the car had the top end power that she thought it should, and she was just struggling. And So talking about being in the 12s, I think the best she did the SCCA time trials weekend was like a 209. And she was really kind of battling herself more than anything. But when she was looking at her data time, like her data with another friend of hers who's ran 206s, her top end speed wasn't really any different, like on the straight stretches, than these normally aspirated BRZs were. But her cornering speeds were all way higher. Like she was slowing down a lot less. She's carrying more speed. Like her suspension was doing a lot more. She's like, what the fuck is going on here? And we compared it again, with what those dudes are running this weekend. And it was kind of the same thing. I might have been going 1, maybe 2 miles an hour faster in the straight stretch and her BRZ when I ran that 1:48, 3 or 4. And those dudes were basically just 2 miles an hour behind me on stock stuff. So you could see that the car definitely has more power in the mid range. Like it definitely pulls out of a corner and stuff, but her car's heavy with the cage and with the supercharger. Her car's maybe not optimized quite yet. I mean, E85 would probably make a massive difference with the supercharger for like cylinder cooling. But for this weekend, basically I drained like that supercharger intercooler, whatever you want to call it, the aftercooler. That thing runs, it's got a 50-50 mix of Subaru coolant in it. So I drained most of that out, and we're running water and like a water wetter product to try and see if that can help pull some more of that heat out on the top end. And since she's going back to Pueblo this weekend, she's going to get a good back-to-back feel of that, of maybe the difference that may or may not make. So
I can't stay cool on coolant. I have to run water. I mean, this is engine coolant, right? But same.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
Well, and this just to clarify for people, so this is the Edelbrock supercharger for the BRZ. So it sits on top of the engine, and it's got a root-style blower in it, but it has an air-to-water intercooler built into the manifold that houses the supercharger. So that's what we're talking about as far as the fluid that's going to.
And it's got its own pump too. And another thing I've been kind of skeptical is the pump running all the time. So if we've been playing with it a little bit and it goes through like a cycle and then stops, but we've been playing with it a little bit to see if it's actually moving. So that's going to be one of the things that Jeanette's going to check, that when she comes in off of an outing on the track, is it actually circulating fluid still in the reservoir? And if not, I mean, we might just hot wire it so that it runs all the time. I mean, you just never know, like all these little things. And sure, like the car it still feels decent. I mean, it's not as abrupt as it used to be with the power really cut out, but because the mid-range power is still there. It's just that top end it feels like there should be a little bit more in it. And so, I mean, trying water wetter, just any surfactant inside of that system is going to help shed a lot of heat a lot better. So
sure,
we'll see. And we'll probably data log this weekend too.
So for the most part, what fuel is she running? Is she still just running pump gas, or is she running race gas?
Yeah, she's running pump gas.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think if anything, I'd imagine that if the IATs get to a certain point, it just pulls timing a little bit, and it might be just so gradual, you don't really notice it. But like in the corners, that car is a monster. Like out of the corners, the mid range on that car is big and fat and beefy. Like we're going up through fourth gear, like up through the S's and stuff of Pueblo up the hill, and that car is pulling it like it doesn't even care. Like it's not labor. Like you look at the other BRZs, and they're like shifting 86 times, just to get through there to carry as much speed as she's able to do with just one gear. So like the mid-range power is there. Her cornering speeds are definitely there. It's just something about the top end is just not. It's super subtle, but it's just when you look at the data from one car to another, you're like, dude, this car's got 90 more horsepower supposedly. Like, why is it only going 2 miles an hour faster?
Right.
The fact that her car's probably 300 pounds heavier than the other cars is probably part of it too. I mean, it could even be her aero. I mean, she's got no fender liners. She's got no undercarriage stuff. Almost all that stuff has been ripped off or broken. And I mean, and it could even just be that. It could just be drag. She could have just that much drag with those cars, and it makes that much of a difference.
Well, she needs to stop hitting cones.
She needs to stop hitting everything.
Roding too, right? When we were out that day on the dirt track.
Yeah.
Found a little.
I mean, she's got a nice crease in her rocker panel. I mean, I give it up to her for not she is we're talking about the ain't care before, you know, in a couple podcasts back. She definitely takes the ain't care approach with that car, which is awesome. And I think she needs to get her head back to where it used to be when she was driving like lights out all the time. And but I know she's heading that direction. I'm not a slouch, so for her to beat me by like such a narrow margin is showing that she's making. It's not just her. There's something else going on, you know. And so, so I think that's good. I mean, I think we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, and if the top speed is off, I mean, it's kind of you guys have had some frustrations with the BRZ similar to what Scotty is having currently with the fuel. Like we have talked about it yet, but you've had issues with the belt coming off the jump the tensioner. Just a lot of inconsistencies and where there's been a lot of obstacles to prevent you from getting to the point where you're just behind the wheel and just driving, focusing on driving versus like trying to pay attention. Like, is the supercharger still spinning? Because like if the belt jumps, the issue, like I've had a little conversation with her, that drives the water pump too. So if the belt comes off, not only is the supercharger not turning, but now there's no coolant flow through the engine, which is not ideal. So there's a lot of pieces that you're just kind of like a little bit unsure of as you're going through these runs. And if it just feels like it's down on power on the straights, it's just like, well, that's another kind of thing to get in your head, another distraction.
Well, and you put a new tensioner on, right?
Yeah,
new tensioner,
and I think that's actually made a massive difference
this time.
Nope. I mean, considering we haven't broke a belt at all, she did high planes on that tensioner, and then we both co-drove at Pueblo. So I mean, that thing's got basically 4 or 5 days of track time on this one belt. Another thing we noticed too is that not all belts are even by the same manufacturer or made the same way. So she bought her initial couple of Continental belts from Amazon. And we put them on, and I mean, one belt literally lasted one session. Like some of those belts were breaking that fast. So I was like, listen, like, let's just go and get belts in stock today. Like, so we have belts or whatever for high planes. And because we broke a belt even out on the track out here. And it took a bunch of wiring out. So we've had to fix and piece that stuff back together and try to like protect it as much as we can. And it's even to the point where the belt's hitting the hood. So the tensioners helped a big deal. And she got when we went to AutoZone that one time to pick up a couple belts, it was a higher quality belt. Like it was softer in a way, and it's like it wasn't as like didn't feel as brittle. And we're like, oh man, maybe we're just getting like it's like Alibaba belts rebranded as Continentals on Amazon, you know, like there's so much fake scammer shit out there. So we went back to that same AutoZone to go get another belt as a backup for this weekend, and nope. It's kind of the cheap belt. So it's almost like you have to shop around and find the good Continental belts because those ones are holding up so much better than I mean, they just feel drier, you know, and they're like the edges are more squared off, and they like you can kind of see like in her nice belts, like kind of like a fiberglass kind of iridescence to it, you know, like a checkered speckle to it. There's a reinforcement in those nice belts that the other belts just do not have.
Wonder if it's like an
same
age,
brand,
like
same part numbers, and everything.
Some are old, some are new. Maybe it's a different batch.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe different outsourcing. Like some of the belts are made in Sri Lanka, and some of the belts are made in China. Who knows? Like, and so I almost feel like we're to the point where she might go around to different parts places, where she can physically hold the belt in her hand and like, nope, I don't want this one. Yep, I want this one. And just try and buy up all the good belts.
She's going to be the crazy belt lady.
Yeah,
going into all these auto parts stores. Like, no, I don't like the way this one feels.
Yeah, and people are going to be like, AutoZone, like, what is wrong with this lady?
Yep.
She
for a reason, damn it. Yeah.
Yep. But she knows, and we know that she knows, and it's okay.
Yep. It's funny because they told her she's buying 2 of these belts. She's like, oh, these have a warranty on them? I was like, oh, yeah, they got a 2-year warranty on them. I was like, so if I break one, I can bring it back and get a new one. He's like, yeah, as long as it's still under warranty. I'm like, those dudes have no idea. So she's already
coming for them. Oh, yeah.
She's already taken a belt back that she already broke and has took it back to get another one. And it's just like, it is, you know, they're just computer guys. They just punch in the computers. Like they like don't even care that the belt's like 2 weeks old.
If it's broke, it's broke, you know.
That's right. For sure.
Cool. Man, it's the other cool thing is you guys have got so much going on that like there's pressure to try and find solutions to these problems, but you don't have to wait a long time to test the solution.
Yeah.
So
I tell you, being out here at PPIR, it's just way more invaluable than I ever thought it would be. Like, say if I was having the same issues that Scotty's having, instead of waiting till like an event or till I can get onto a dyno, it'll literally be making these changes, go out there and run it, see what happens. Like, that wasn't it, and make another change. Like, go and run. It's like, fuck, that wasn't it either. I mean, it's kind of been like that with the boost controller. Instead of like just winging it and hoping I have boost, I literally was able to out here and set all those maps up and fuck with it and go out there and do some more laps in it. So,
yeah, the testing, you cannot underestimate the value of testing. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Or the pleasure of living at a racetrack.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but you know,
it's a good gig if you can get it.
Yeah, that's right.
Man,
absolutely.
Well, as we are winding down here, I mean, I think that was all the topics that I wanted to cover. Were there any other standout things to you guys for either one of these events, the hill climb or from the track day at Pueblo, that you wanted to mention?
I embarrassed a lot of really fast cars out there, and it was fun.
You're making a habit of that, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Saturday I was getting beat by both Vipers. Sunday, first session I actually beat both of them. There was 0.2 of a second between the three of us. But then the dude in the red ACR Viper packed up after his first session and just left. And I don't know if he was bummed that he got beat, but it was kind of fun to go whoop up on some 10-cylinder Vipers in my little 4-cylinder.
You
so
sent that dude home.
I think I even made that joke when you were like in between the two Vipers. I was like, hey, aren't you missing like 6 cylinders?
Right.
It's just like a crazy number to think about, 6 less cylinders. Like, that's super
like
nuts.
A 2.5 liter versus, I mean, what are those V10s in the Viper? Is it 7
8
liters?
liters or
8
something?
liters?
Yeah, I mean, they have the 9-liter Viper, but that's bored out. I'm pretty sure they're 8 liters.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all normally aspirated, no forced induction or anything, but I mean, those cars are impressive cars outright, and to be beating those cars is pretty spectacular.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it goes to show like how capable a Subaru can be. I mean, as people are listening to this, hopefully you've listened to our last podcast with Professional Awesome, and those guys, awesome guys, really loved having that conversation with them. But definitely, I would say it's fair to say that they're not Subaru fans.
Yeah.
You know, they favor other platforms more than Subarus, and that's fine. But like to have a Subaru that's like stomping on Vipers.
Yeah.
Like that's is
Vipers and Vets and I got a Camaro I need to take out now, but that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
That guy can drive.
Well, Jason Mick.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and Tasso, I guess this just came to my mind. So Jeff Zwart just unrolled this Porsche Hill Climb car, and I think he said that he's coming back to drive Pikes Peak next year because that's the 100th running of the race, or at least that's what's kind of being talked about. I mean, do you get a sense that he is kind of setting his sights as using the Colorado Hill Climb Series as kind of a warm up for that?
I don't know. I mean, at least what he told me when I asked him about what he's up to and stuff, he was just using Monarch as a shakedown for Land's End. That car specifically is now for better or for whatever it means. It's kind of a gravel setup at this point. So to that, I don't know if this is part of some warm up. I know what he said though is that he missed the Colorado Hill Climb Association stuff. The last event he ran was like 2005. And wow. It really is a good group. You know, he said it's a good group. You know, I was out just for 2 years and kind of missed racing with that crowd. You know, if it's I in my little, semi-professional race car driver and amateur tattoo artist skill level. I have, people that come up to me, fans, that, one gave me a young from Salida who was out there with her parents all the time, made like a little like picture box kind of thingy of like a picture of my car, a little trophy and stuff like that, just to give us. And, for as grassroots of an organization, as, dirt bag of a race operation I have, to have that kind of support, that says a lot about the organization. So it's, said that he missed the group and missed racing. They're fun, cheap, laid back weekends where you get to go real fast on great roads. So it's, I could believe that he was trying to get his hill climb. I can't imagine that a guy like Jeff Swart ever loses his hill climb feet. But if he was trying to get hill climb feet back underneath him, I could believe that. Or, I could believe what he said was just that it's a good time. It's a good weekend. He lives in Colorado too, so it's it's his local race series. And I said it once, I'll say it again. Colorado is the heart of motorsports, especially on gravel in the country. So no place else has what Colorado has, and it's it's fun. It's a good time, and so I guess I talked all the way around your question.
So no, I don't think so.
But it's I think he was just out having a good time with his car in a beautiful part of the country. So.
Yeah. Well, it's just if word is getting out and its word comes back, I mean, it's just maybe there's going to be an even deeper field. And I mean, honestly, like for a lot of track days, I mean, 60 to 70 cars, that's a pretty good turnout for a weekend event. So if Colorado's already there, I mean, yeah,
and it's I don't know where I was going with that thought. It just wandered off. It's not every weekend it's that busy. Some races are a little less, but it's well attended, it's well organized. It's loose, right? In anything at this level of competition, when you got guys like Ryan of DSX Motorsports are organizing a whole TT competition, you got to realize it's fellow racers that are putting this stuff on. So everybody is working their ass off, but stuff comes up in a weekend, right? It's not it's you have to be kind of flexible and loose and stuff, but they're such fun weekends, and it's they're well attended already. They could be, I think that the Colorado Hill Climb Association is a national level spectacle, right, or more, right? Especially on gravel anymore, right? There's hill climbs still around the country and around the world, but there's no other gravel series that I'm aware of. So I think that's the reason I'm doing it, is because it's badass, and I believe that it's badass, and I love it. So
and it's the thing that I know is appealing to you about it too, is that it doesn't, the rule set is not that restrictive. So like if you wanted to add 150 horsepower or whatever, if you wanted to really try and push the limits of what you can do power wise to the car, you're not going to get a big penalty in the rule set, and you're just kind of really like you guys that are in close times with each other. That's it's the motivator to like, okay, what can I come up with? Can I improve my driving? Can I save weight on the car? What edge can I find to actually utilize?
And those of us in the class are the ones that made those rules, so we were able to do.
Funny how that works, right?
Right. Yeah, we made a fun rule set for us to race under. Imagine that. Can you imagine if the Formula One drivers got to make their own rules? They're like, okay, rockets on it, and we got machine guns, and what? I mean, I don't, probably not, right? But it's so much fun. I don't know.
That's
awesome.
It's
cool to have Jeff Swart there. There's rumors. I don't know if I said this on the podcast or if I'm supposed to say it even, that there's a couple other names that average listener out there, names that you've heard of in the motorsports world that might be showing up to Land's End. Some fast cars. I will probably be outclassed pretty hard, but that's okay.
It's part of the fun.
We'll drive our ass off and see what we can come up with.
Are you and your car going to have to hit the Gymkhana up to get some
We're gonna have to get after it. I don't know. I mean, our rules are loose enough that I have a displacement limit and a drivetrain layout. The displacement can't be over 2.65 or whatever it is, and drivetrain has to be as factory and four-wheel drive for the all-wheel drive class. So front engine, four-wheel drive, and then 2.65 liters, and then recognizable as the original make and model. So, whatever. I mean, shit,
nice.
Pikes Peak Tacoma or whatever it was, Tundra could show up. And that was a small displacement car too, right? Yeah, just big-ass turbo.
Yep.
That's recognizable. It looks like a Tundra to me or whatever. Tacoma T100. Send it. Come on. Man. Come on, Reef Millen. Where is that thing? Someone got it?
Someone's got it, I'm sure.
Garage. Yeah. So, I don't know. But yeah, so I wandered on here, but a good time.
Right. Well, let's wrap this thing up and yeah, just want to thank everybody once again for listening, especially if anybody's made it to the end. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you guys sticking with us and listening. And yeah, I guess until next time, we'll just call it good here and say stay tuned with Flatirons Tuning.